racing action from Doncaster.
Pursuit of Love in the lead, but here on the outside comes Dexter Pickett in the white cap on Rodrigo to Triano, and as they come inside the final furlong, it's Rodrigo to Triano. More significantly, Lester Pickett's going to take it, Sturdy and Classic. Rodrigo to Triano's going to take it at the line. Rodrigo to Triano, the winner. It's Dr. Devious in the lead. Six Jovine Silver with Classic second and third, but it's Dr. Devious in the lead as they race up towards the line. Dr. Devious clear by three, Silver with St. Jovine having their battle for places, but the derby goes to Dr. Devious. User Friendly pressed hard on the outside by all at sea, and they're both battling bravely. User Friendly, George Duffield looking for his very first classic win. All at sea inside the final furlong. She isn't going to take back User Friendly, and User Friendly stepping up and won the day, and User Friendly is the winner.
All classics gone, and who's to say that this final one, the 216th St. Leger, isn't the most fascinating, certainly the most tantalising of all. Right up to the last minute, no one's been sure exactly who would take part. So, at last, here is the absolute news. User Friendly, the Dual Oaks winner, the unbeaten favourite, will run here this afternoon. 6 hours of watering overnight have taken the jar out of the ground, and so she takes her chance. But Allegan does not. Number one on the list, he was being taken out because Pat Edery, his rider, who rode the first race here this afternoon, says the ground is fast. The news direct from Kentucky, where Henry Cecil's trainer is, was the horse was not to run unless the ground was good. The ground is fast, officially good to firm, so Allegan doesn't run in the St. Leger. 7 runners there at 3:40 this afternoon. Our racing here started at 2:05. We'll bring you the recorded races later. Our live action kicks off with the Flying Childer Stakes, the unbeaten Milliant in against 6 other 2-year-olds. Then there are 7 runners, of course, in the Colite sponsored St. Leger. 14 in the Colite handicap because number 9 Rambo's Hall is out, and 8 at the moment for the reference point Scepter Stakes at 4:45.
Well, Allegan's owner, Carlo Abdallah, has been fined £1,500 for withdrawing the horse. I think he can just about afford that. Now, this morning we've seen one of the most infectious gambles ever late in a classic on User Friendly. Now, you watched the morning line this morning, that 11-4 with Ladbrokes. We said it was colossal value. Did you go in for it? They held it in the betting shop, still 10.25. They're now showing 5-4 against this massive steamer, User Friendly, with 11-4 against BONNY SCOT. The very early show here in the Flying Childers, 11-10 Million, 5-2 Niche, and 9-2 against the Tank. But here we have a classic steamer on the classic Channel 4. Undefeated, User Friendly, winner of 3 Group 1 races. What has she got to beat? I spoke to owner Bill Dregley. He said at 5-2 she was the bet of all time. Bill Dregley's words walking the course this morning. She is the bet of all time. What a classic steamer, User Friendly. Only 5-4 now. The cream is gone.
It all started way back in 1776. It had an uninterrupted run since then. The 216th St. Leger. Behind me, the fairground in full swing. Some people over there won't even see a horse today, but we've already had 2 races, so let's get straight into the action by looking back at how they finished. Now, the first at 2:05 was the Battle of Britain Nursery over 6 furlongs. We had a non-runner here. That was Racing Telegraph, which left 11 runners and a wide open contest. We had joint favourites at the off, and they were Infant Protégé and Norling. Well, we're in for something of a surprise. JT, before we see the closing stages, tell us how they bet at the off.
Certainly, Derek. Infant Protégé and Norling, as you say, were the joint favourites, both at 9-2. Mawayed was 5-1, In-Case 6-1, Touch Silver 8-1, and Brig Fair of 10-1 counts, along with Chilly Heights, 12-1 bar those.
So they come down towards the halfway stage, and it's In-Case racing down the centre of the track on the far side. Ali Bianco showing pace, Norling coming with a run, Super Sevi and Master Sinclair on the rails. They come down towards the two. It's still In-Case down the centre of the track. Brig Fair coming there strongly. That's in the black and white diamond jacket. They've passed the two. And it's Brig Fair and In-Case now duel. They've gone 3 clear of Infant Protégé in the green colours. They come down towards the final furlong. White Steed, Brig Fair the left, In-Case Pink Cap the right. And they pulled 6 clear of the others. It's a battle as they race up towards the line. Neither are going to give in. Brig Fair and In-Case, the top weight still at the line. Brig Fair just takes it from In-Case. And a big break to Chilly Heights in third.
Thrilling start to the opening race of the St. Leger Day, and interesting that was Richard Hannon's 999th success as a trainer, and what a day it would be for him if he could get his 1000th with Assessor, and a good winning start for John Reed as well. Here's the FP.
First number 2, Brig Fair at 10-1, second number 1, In-Case 6-1, and third number 5, Chilly Heights at 10-1. Number 9, Infant Protégé, and number 11, Norling, with the 92 joint favourites. A non-runner was number 4 and 11 run.
And there's the sponsor's dray, the coal light dray, not delivering much coal. I must tell you that John McCrick did get on that earlier on. It certainly sagged between those wheels, but they must be pretty strong horses. The crowds this week haven't been that brilliant over the first 3 days, but once again, we've got a monster crowd today. Some people were telling me that they've come from Sheffield, and it's taken them about 3 hours to get here. That champagne stand blew down the other day. That is the St. Leger stand that was built here 2 years ago by the Tony Budge Company. That was the marquee that actually blew down here yesterday, and I'm glad to say the wind has abated. Although there is still that autumn feel, it is very pleasant for the ladies in their dresses and the men in their jackets as well. Now let's check out the 235. This was the North-South Challenge over a mile. We had 2 non-runners here, Forever Diamonds and Southend. It was a wide open contest, not a race to get stuck into, but if you remember on the morning line this morning, John Frankam's charity bet, £25 each way, went on a horse called Indian Slave. Before we find out what happened, let's call in JT once again with the betting.
Well, Indian Slave was in the market at 12-1, but the favourite was Croft Valley at 7-1. Pecan on 9s, Laurel Queen 10-1, along with Doolab's Image. Indian Slave at 12s, together with H&B, and also Self-Expression, another 12-1 chance, 14-1 bar.
So it's Croft Valley, the rail runner, Caliman in the hoops on the outside. These two have shared the honours so far. In the red cap coming through to third estate dancer, the yellow sleeves running the rail, that's Desert Splendor. Black cap for the royal runner Pecan starts to get going, and then just behind these comes Spanish Verdict under pressure. They come down towards the 3, and it's Croft Valley still ahead of affairs from Caliman and State Dancer for a competitive handicap. Not many have got into this. Pecan with a run on the outside, 1.5 to go. And it's Croft Valley in the lead. State Dancer's after him though. On the outside, Pecan with a run, and also finishing to some effect Indian Slave. They're inside the final furlong now, and Croft Valley and State Dancer on the very wide outside, the red colour Self-Expression and Indian Slave. It's a wall of 4 as they race up towards the line, and Croft Valley, Indian Slave is going to finish there, and Indian Slave takes it from Croft Valley with State Dancer third.
First number 19, Indian Slave at 12-1. Second number 6, Croft Valley, 7-1 favourite. Third number 2, State Dancer, 14-1. And the fourth horse, number 13, Self-Expression at 12-1. The take paid $11.90 the win. The place is $250, $170, $460 and $280. Dual forecast 27.10. The computer straight forecast 88.23. And the tri-cast £1,106 and 23 pence. Non-runners are number 16 and 20 and 19 rounds.
Well, apart from the monster co-lights and ledger plunge on user-friendly now, putting it 5-4. Business being very light in the later races. In the 4:15, 11-2 each of 2 Colour Sergeant and Jahangir, and 7-1 the top one, Malotti, runner-up a year ago. And the 4:45, they're going 13-8 against Perfect Circle, 5-2 Badawi, and on the shoulders 9-2 against Midnight Air. Here they've taken the 11-10 against that Million. It's now 11-10 on Million. It's 11-4 against Niche, and 5-1 for Tank. There's one horse the bookies cannot stomach today, on course or off course, user-friendly. Let's hope she's user-friendly in this great green year for us all.
And a huge crowd, rivaling the crowd we had for the first Sunday fixture here at Doncaster. Our first live race, the Flying Childer Stakes. 7 two-year-olds flying up the 5 furlongs. The old master Lester Piggott on Niche. The new champion-elect Michael Roberts on Million. They'll head affairs. Join us after the break.
I like a bit of a flutter, so I gambled on not having a TV licence. This went down to 400 quid.
Julie should be 2 tomorrow. But imagine that her car seat harness had not been properly secured. What had fitted snugly over her winter clothes had not been properly adjusted come summer. Happily, you can adjust the new Britax Freeway to fit every toddler for every season. More simply, perfectly, safely. Happy birthday, Julie. The new Britax Freeway, making safety simpler.
Something big has happened in DIY. It's not a limited offer. It's a totally new policy. B&Q have brought down the price of paint. Over 2,000 paints are now all at lower prices, day in, day out. So everyone can afford to splash out. B&Q. Why pay pots for paint?
Whether it's the best tasting spaghetti bolognese or freshly frozen lasagna, only Dolmio will do. Because every Dolmio recipe uses the finest natural ingredients. All combined to create that delicious Dolmio taste. For spaghetti bolognese or freshly frozen lasagna, Dolmio is simply irresistible. Dolmio, only the best will do.
From the outback of Australia, you can see the lights in Paris. Or survey the hills of San Francisco from atop the Great Wall. From Mount Fuji, you can see the pyramids of Mexico. Through the eyes of a Buddha in Thailand, you can see the Thames rolling through London. And from the heartland of America, you can see the majesty of Rio. You can see it all on United, with renowned international service spanning Asia, the Pacific, Latin America, and Europe. From London's Heathrow, more than 200 cities in the USA and 31 countries beyond. Come fly the airline that's uniting the world. Come fly the friendly skies.
Cadbury's Flake, the crumbliest, flakiest milk chocolate in the world.
Free with the People Tomorrow, a great gardening and DIY extra. Plus, how to get your free packet of seeds. And in your glossy magazine, The Amazing Sex Revolution. Why it's better to play at home than away. Plus, win Sega Game Gears and save on a family bargain break at Pontins. Revealed the soccer sensation of the season. By the People Tomorrow.
Welcome back to the paddock here at Doncaster. Michael Roberts on board Milliant, this filly who's won both her races this season and represents the Grey Guest stable you've already seen in tremendous form with Indian Slave in the previous race. So everything going for Milliant. That's likely to be reflected in the betting. 7 runners for this Flying Childer Stakes. It's Group 2, £22,000 for the winners. Here's a full list from Graham Gould.
And the stalls placed on the stand rails. Number 1, Million, ridden by Michael Robertson, drawn 4. Number 2, Niche at 1 out wide, Lester Piggott. 3, SABRE, RATTLER at 3, John Tyrrel. 4, Saint Express at 5, Tony Culhane. Number 5, Tatank at 7, Pat Edery. Number 6, Pepperonata at 6, John Lowe. And number 7, Poker Chip at 2, the Mount of Michael Hills.
Milliant is the even money favourite, back from 11 to turn on. Niche is 3 to 1, opened at 5 to 2. And Tatank 11 to 2 from 5 to 1. SABRE, RATTLER 9 to 1 from 8. Pepperonata steady on 20 to 1, as is Saint Express. And Poker Chip, the outsider, 33 to 1. They're all quoted for the Flying Childers.
Here's Lester Piggott, who in the next race will be bidding to win the St Leger for his 9th time here on the 2-year-old filly Niche, who's been in tremendous form throughout her season, and that, judging on her Lowther Stakes performance at York, goes from strength to strength.
Niche just has it though. Wrist knees girl, 2 can do on the extreme right. Shamisen comes under the cosh, won't be getting anywhere now. Furlong and a half to go. And Niche and Lester Piggott just oozing confidence. 2 can do it after her, but Niche has the answers here from 2 can do it. It's Lester making all on Niche, striding clear. Shamisen rallies for a place up towards the line. Niche takes it very tightly indeed. Niche is the winner.
Niche can do the start, carrying one of the marvels of this or any other time. We have 2 marvels in the commentary box, John Frankham and John Oakley.
Well, Niche herself is a bit of a marvel in the way that she's a marvellous bargain, because she only costs 7,600 guineas as a yearling. In fact, they say horses are expensive, but you could have bought the first 3 in the betting for this race, Milliant, Niche, and SABRE, and Tatank, I beg your pardon. You could have bought them for less than 50,000 guineas, which shows that it can be done if you happen to be lucky enough.
Absolutely, he's just striking in the right place. He's a really good mover, Niche, and well, the ground is good here basically this afternoon, but really easy action filly. That last race we saw in the York was over 6 furlongs shorter today, and she's effective over 5. I think personally she's better over 6, and she's sure to be there at the finish.
Milliant did beat her when they met. Milliant finished 3 lengths in front of Niche, over 5 furlongs, but that was she's now £5 worse off. So that's £5 for 3 lengths. Just might be enough to help Niche, but really the problem is whether Niche can match this filly's tremendous speed, because there's no doubt about it, she's a half-sister to Prince Sabo, and she is very fast indeed, unbeaten in her 2 races.
Yeah, much more powerfully built filly than Niche. You can see the 2 there, and much more depth about her. Brilliant. Unusual mark in there on her shoulder. Run twice and won twice. And this will be Ray Guest's biggest winner if she can manage to win. But there's 2 or 3 others in this race that you could give chances to. It's not a 1-horse race or a 2-horse race by any means. And there's SABRE, RATTLER. Been a really good servant to Jack Berry's. Almost run to the inch though with Niche, the couple of occasions that they've met. And I don't really see any reason why he actually ought to reverse the placings with her. Jack did really well to secure a half-brother to this horse by dowsing at the sales the other day. And he's done him really proud, SABRE, RATTLER. Let's have a look at Tatank though, because this one would have a chance, John.
Certainly would. Made all the running in the Windsor Castle Stakes at Royal Ascot, and since then there's only 1 blot on Tank's escutcheon. Ran a moderate race in Ireland, but who knows, that was probably softer ground. In fact, it certainly was softer ground, and the travelling may not have suited Tank. Since then, he's run really well again. Tremendous speed this colt has, he would be the one, I think, the big danger to the two fillies.
Well, he was second to Palace Gate Episode, this horse, and I would say that Palace Gate Episode was actually better on the occasion that Sir Tank met her, rather than on the occasion that the two fillies did. Really powerfully built, this horse. Trained up in the north by Bill Watts. Well, Pat Edry, just turning his face to face the stalls. Let's have some news from Mac.
And Sir Tank, a colt against fillies at level weight, very tight, 11-2. That's with the thumb. Many bookmakers going 5-1 against it. Now 17 favourites in 22 runnings have won this. 10 of the last 11 have won. 6-5 on Million, 130 bar. That's Niche. 5 and 11-2 Sir Tank.
So the trip is just 5 furlongs and the start absolutely critical. Sir Tank nearest to us. Million would dash from the stalls. That's it. They break away. Million quickly away. So to Niche on the extreme right. SABRE Rattler is showing pace, and Sir Tank powers through on the rail. And Sir Tank it is. Sir Tank and Million and SABRE Rattler. Niche headed on the outside. Then Pepper and Ardo in red. Yellow colour Saint Express. And outpaced is Poker Chip. It's a really strong race this as they come down towards the 3. Very strong pace indeed. Sir Tank the rail runner by a half to Million, with SABRE Rattler out wide. Wider still Niche, starting to stay on, a length and a half back to Pepper and Ardo. And then Saint Express and the yellow running a big race. They've passed the halfway stage, and it's Sir Tank the rail and Million. Michael Roberts gets to work. Pepper and Ardo looks the room. SABRE Rattler and Michael Roberts looks across there as Pepper and Ardo barge their way through. But Sir Tank goes on still inside the final furlong. Sir Tank, who got that good start here off the pace. Poker Chip starts to fly, and Saint Express in yellow comes with a strong dash. They're inside the final furlong now. Poker Chip the rail and Saint Express at the line. Poker Chip takes it, and Photo second. Saint Express a brilliant race through to second. Sir Tank is third, 2 lengths back to Pepper and Ardo, the favourite, folded to be 5, but beat Niche. And last of all was indeed SABRE Rattler. And so the result of this, the Flying Shoulders Stakes, is a 33-1 winner. That's number 7, Poker Chip, outpaced the halfway. This one in the colours of Mr. Jeff Smith. What a great week he's having with Lock Song. Like Lock Song, this Poker Chip is trained at Kingsclear by Ian Balding and ridden by Michael Hills, who's on a bit of a roll. It's a close call for second place between the yellow colour Saint Express and Sir Tank in the blue and green. But let's see the steward as they head on, for I think there could well be a steward's inquiry called here as Pepper and Ardo barged her way through, upsetting Million.
Sir Tank in front has taken the measure of Million, but just look between those two. Sir Tank, of course, with the white noseband, Million with the black and white stripes, and those red colours are the colours of Pepper and Ardo, and I think we're going to see that Pepper and Ardo tries at any rate to come between Sir Tank and Million.
Yeah, 2 furlongs to run now. A steward's inquiry has been announced, and Pat's just beginning to niggle, going for home now on Sir Tank in the Robert Sangster colours, and now Pepper and Ardo and John Lowe, they've pushed Million out. I think her cause was lost already at that stage, but they've certainly pushed their way through, and it's got to be said, she's a really brave filly, Pepper and Ardo, to actually push her head through there. They've gone to have every chance. Niche, Million, SABRE Rattler, they're all beaten, but now look, in the yellow colours comes Saint Express and Tony Colhane, and as Sir Tank has just moved off of the rails, Poker Chip and Michael Hills have taken full advantage of the gap that's appeared, and that was all that Poker Chip needed, and she's run on and run out quite a decent winner at the line.
What form the Hills boys have been in this week. Michael fairly riding beautifully. Very, very tight for second. It looks as though Saint Express has just possibly pinched second place off Sir Tank, who made a brave attempt to lead all the way.
And Poker Chip is returned a double carpet, 33-1, a colossal result for the bookmakers on Coalites and Ledger Day. Very close for second between Saint Express, a 20-1 chance, and Sir Tank, who was sent off at 11-2. Million was odds-on favourite, 11-10 on favourite. Only the 6th time in 23 runnings of this race the favourite's been beaten, and the first time the odds-on chance has been beaten, except for Music Boy in 1975 when the 100-to-1 chance Hittite Glory floored Music Boy. So the second biggest shock in this race they've ever known. Shovel Carpet, Poker Chip, here comes the second place now. Here it is. And Saint Express is second at 20-to-1, the Tank third at 11-to-2, and fourth is Verona. A wonderful result for the bookies, but user-friendly, still to come for us to hit back at them.
First number 7, Poker Chip at 33-to-1. Second number 4, Saint Express, 20-to-1. And third number 5, Satank, 11-to-2. Number 1, William, was the 11-to-10 on favourite and 7 round.
Poker Chip survives, gets a beautiful run up the rails. Michael Hills, the jockey, just told us that he's sure the inquiry doesn't involve him. He said he had a dream run up the rails, a dream price, 33-to-1. What a winner on a classic day here on 4.
What kind of investment company would venture out when most sit tight? One which in the 1974 recession bought shares when most sold and saw them leap in early 75. One who sold heavily in 87 before the Black Monday crash. One with expertise in all financial climates. Scottish Widows, looking good for your investments.
Anyway, I was in the post office when she comes in, picking up a HGV license application. Not for him with an articulate lorry. And the Pack-a-Mack and the sideboards. All I'll say is he was in the post office opening a joint national savings account Tuesday last. Ooh, I thought there'd never be more than one slice in his toaster. Don't look. Him number 73. He was in for a bus pass and a look at the electoral register. And I think we all know whose particulars he's been taking down. He never is. And then you, Nigel. He comes in the post office to get some photos enveloped. Fancy. Apparently he's got one of those paranoid cameras.
Someone had to take the lead in reducing new car prices. Not just for a day, or a week, or a month, but with real reductions. And who better to clear the air than Rover? With attractive new prices on almost all our cars. Thanks to our advanced manufacturing technology, the quality of our fit and finish is as high as ever. The only reduction is to our prices. Someone had to take the confusion out of buying a quality car. And who better than Rover? St. Ivel-shaped yogurt is a light, fresh, fruity taste. A taste that comes shining through. Because St. Ivel-shaped yogurt is virtually fat-free. How refreshing.
Say St. Ivel and you're in refreshingly good shape.
From the outback of Australia, you can see the lights in Paris. Or survey the hills of San Francisco from atop the Great Wall. From Mount Fuji, you can see the pyramids of Mexico. Through the eyes of a Buddha in Thailand, you can see the Thames rolling through London. And from the heartland of America, you can see the majesty of Rio. You can see it all on United, with renowned international service spanning Asia, the Pacific, Latin America, and Europe. From London's Heathrow, more than 200 cities in the USA and 31 countries beyond. Come fly the airline that's uniting the world. Come fly the friendly skies.
racing here has been going on down the centuries, as you know. And it's great that Doncaster seems to have come out the other side. There was a bit of despair about the place about 5-6 years ago, but there's a lot of life around today. And of course the history of the Leger goes back, as we said, 260 years, and the jockeys who are weighing out now are joining the longest roll of honour in the classics. John Tyrrel and Derek Thompson take us back down the years.
This is the finish to one of the St. Ledgers. This one actually in question is 1931, and this picture adorns the wall of the Doncaster Museum in the heart of Doncaster, about, what, 4 furlongs from the racecourse. JTR, noted historian, is with me. Just out of interest, it doesn't say here who won the 1931 St. Ledger.
It was SABRE, written by Harry Ragg.
Oh, well done. And it does not say. Listen, tell us, it's the world's oldest classic. How did it all start?
Well, it all started really because 2 men had a vision of racing in the future. They were Colonel Anthony St. Ledger and General Johnny Burgoyne. And they were very interested in 3-year-old racing. Up to that time, most races had been run either in matches or in these interminable heats that took all afternoon to decide the outcome of one race. 3-year-old racing had been started at Newmarket in the middle of the century, middle of the 18th century. It hadn't really caught on. And they thought that they would have found a classic race, and the 3-year-old would be the optimum time to test the thoroughbred.
And this was before the 2,000, 1,000 guineas Derby or Oaks had ever been thought of?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the first classic race devised. And in the end, it fell to St. Ledger to actually complete the task, because Burgoyne had to go and fight the Battle of Saratoga and command the British troops in the War of Independence in America. So he devised a 2-year-old race for colts and fillies, colts to carry 8 stone, fillies to carry 7 stone 12. And it was run at Cantley Common, which is hard by Town Moor, where, of course, they run the race now.
Tell us about that first.
Well, the first St. Ledger was actually run by an unnamed filly of Lord Rockingham's. Rockingham was a great patron of Doncaster. St. Ledger's horse finished second.
And an unnamed horse won an unnamed race. Where does the Ledger come in?
Well, that's right. And it was unnamed when they ran the second running as well in 1770.
So what did the punter say? Come on, the unnamed, or what?
Well, I don't know. An awful lot of horses in those days used to run unnamed. Eventually, Rockingham named his horse Alabaculia.
Yeah.
And when the subscribers, that's to say the people who were going to enter horses for the 1778 running, which was actually on Town Moor, the very first Ledger run at Town Moor, Lord Rockingham hosted a dinner party at the Red Lion Hotel. He was taking a bit of time out from being Prime Minister at the time.
The Red Lion is still there, isn't it?
Still exists.
It's now a state bar, I think.
So I understand, yes.
Very good steak.
I think so. Well, I don't know. I haven't actually been there. But anyway.
But in those days.
In those days.
Yeah.
And at the dinner party, it was suggested that they should name this race in honour of the host. But Rockingham demurred. He said, no, St. Ledger thought of it. We should name it after him.
Well,
so that's what happened. Yes.
Well, over the years, let's move over here, because I can see a certain young Lester Piggott riding a horse called Nijinsky. This is a compilation of Ledger winners.
Yes.
And that was him a bit older on Comanche Run.
Mm-hmm.
He stands to equal the record this Saturday, doesn't he, if he wins on Match Night?
Yes, that's true. Will Scott won 9 St. Ledgers back in the last century.
Yeah.
Piggott has ridden 8, as we know. So he's what you might call the modern hero of the race, I suppose.
Who would take us back a bit further? Who was the other jockey who was known as the Lester Piggott of his time?
Oh, well, that was Frank Buckle.
Yeah.
And, of course, Lester broke his record of classic wins just a couple of years ago, or established a new record. But he actually put St. Ledger on the map, because in 1800 he completed the Derby St. Ledger double on a horse called Champion.
Good name, wasn't it?
Indeed it was, yes. And then after that, St. Ledger Week became something of a national institution, rather like Derby League.
Yeah.
To such effect that the corporation ordered that the mayor shall hire the fat cook at the Angel called Winterbottom upon the same terms as the women kept there and paid by the corporation at 17 6 for the week. Which I think is about 350 quid today.
More than you and I earn in a month. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know about that yet.
These are some of the winners we've been talking about. What about the unlucky losers in the St. Ledger?
Well, there's been a few of those, actually, but I suppose nothing really to compare with the 1819 race, which was actually run twice.
What? Twice? Well,
yes.
what happened?
Well, the winner was Antonio at 33 to 1,
Yeah.
but 5 horses were left at the start, including the second favourite, a horse by the name of Agricola.
Yeah.
The crowd went mad and stormed the steward's room, and so the stewards decided that in order to placate them, they would run the race again.
Yeah.
So they ran it again, and unfortunately Wrangler, who was the favourite,
in the first event, and he finished second to Antonio. Antonio didn't take part in the rerun, but poor Wrangler finished second again to a horse called Sir Walter. Anyway, the whole thing was actually reported to the stewards of the Jockey Club.
Not surprisingly.
Well, quite so. And from the safety of the Newmarket rooms, without the mob banging on the door, they came to the conclusion that the Doncaster stewards were wrong to order the rerun, and said that the first race would stand, and therefore Antonio got the spoils. But you can't help feeling sorry for poor old Wrangler, who ran actually 4 miles in one afternoon and finished. He was favourite for 2 classic races and finished second in both of them.
You know, it's interesting, isn't it, coming around here? We've got all the different, the ledger winners. Hungerford, Steelho Das Putin, that's a good name. Colonel, that's by Herring. Barefoot, the winner in 1820. Touchstone. He was involved in a race where there were some dirty deeds.
Yes, I'm afraid he was, yes. There was a very good horse called Plenipotentiary, who started favourite for the race, but he was so badly doped that he could hardly get down to the starting gate, or starting post as it was in those days. Of course, it was a flag start, and he certainly had no chance in the race because he ran like a drunken man. But on the other hand, Touchstone was also a very good horse, so it's perfectly possible he wouldn't have won anyway.
What about 1827? I believe the jockeys were fixed.
Well, yes, well, the jockeys conspired anyway against the favourite. It was a horse called Mameluke, owned by John Gully, who was a prize fighter. Mameluke was the favourite, and they were apparently determined it was not going to win, so they staged 26 full starts.
26?
26.
False
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it was a flag start, you see.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was a chap simply shouting go, you know, that was the way races were started in those days. So if you had a starter, it was a bad thing to be a starter. But anyway, when they finally went away, he was left 100 yards. Mameluke ran a great race, but of course it was too much of a handicap, and he only finished second in the end.
I believe the owner, though, became an MP.
Yes, he did. He became a member of Parliament for Pontefract by the simple expedient of leaving barrels of ale on the Old Street corners so that his thirsty electorate could be bribed to vote for him. Which is as good a way to getting into Parliament as any.
Exactly, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
But when you look back over all the years since it first started, what, 1776, who would be the heroes, both equine and human?
Well, the equine hero, of course, has to be SABRE, who completed the classic 4-timer when she won the St. Leger in 1902. The only classic race she didn't win was the Derby, of course, in which she finished 4th. I suppose the modern hero must be Pickett with his 8 wins, as we have said earlier. And, of course, in the last century, Will Scott with his 9. But one of the winners that Will Scott rode was a horse called Sir Tatton Sykes, which he owned and named after a famous Yorkshire sportsman. Now, he's an incredible man. He lived for 96 years. He witnessed 76 St. Legers, and he thought absolutely nothing of riding a round trip of 780 miles to take part in an amateur riders' race at Aberdeen and get back in time to see Ebor win the 1817 St. Leger. So if there's a real hero of Townmore, I think it's got to be Sir Tatton Sykes.
Very interesting, that. But there's one other thing I'd like to have a look at. The race card, Doncaster Races, 1788, which would make this about the 12th St. Leger. Now look at this, the oldest original race card here in the museum. And those are the entries. And as you can see, the horses haven't got any names, as JT was saying. Grey filly, brown filly, bay colt. But what were they called? How did they know which horse was which? 1788, St. Leger.
Now I can do that, okay? Yeah. Here's today's race card. Coal-like fire burning strongly on the front. Inside, all the colours and the most extensive briefing you'll get. You've got no excuse not to be informed in 1992. Well, were you right? Did you get 33-1 codership in the race we've just seen? You can be confirmed by it, I'm pleased to tell you. The Stewards' Inquiry haven't changed the placings. Here's the FD with John Tyrrel, historian-elect.
Thank you, Brock. First number 7, Pokerchip, 33-1. Second number 4, Saint Express, 20-1. And third number 5, Satank at 11-2. Number 1 Million, the 11-10 on favourite. The tote paid £32.40 for the win. The places 6.30 and 5.90. The dual forecast came to £178.40 and the computer straight forecast to £385.83 and 7 rounds. Good with the 2 o'clock was won by number 5, Wristmaster, 33-1. Second, number 11, Vanbrugh Lad, 14-1. And third, number 3, Shrewd Partner at 7-1. Number 12, Tiffany's Case, the 11-2 favourite, 12 rounds. The 2:30, first, number 10, Kyrenia Game, 10-1. Second, number 1, Brandon Hurst, 92 favourite. And third, number 2, Aberdeen Heather at 11-1, 12 rounds. And the 3 o'clock at Goodwood, where the result stands following a steward's inquiry. First number 19, Assignment, 11-1. Second number 3, Hard to Figure, 9-2 favourite. Third number 11, So Rhythmical, 10-1. And the fourth horse, number 17, Fascination Waltz at 8-1, 19 rounds. Chepstow, the 2:15. First number 7, Juniper Berry, 5-2. Second number 6, Athar, 16-1. Third number 1, Farley Story, 7-4 favourite, 7 rounds. The 2:45, 1, Lockie, 4-1. 3, Stadderjack, 6-4 favourite, and 4, Elegant Friend, 5-1, 6 rounds. Worcester, the 2:20, won by number 4, Simon Sun, 12-1. Second number 2, Arthur Stone, 17-2. And third number 15, Sly Prospect, 20-1. Number 3, Please Please Me, was 3-1 favourite. Non-runners 8 and 11 and 15 rounds. And the 2:50, won by number 4, LTS, 6-1. Second number 5, Morn Warrior, 12-1. And third number 1, Crafty Copper at 5-1. Number 3, Carswell's Choice, was the 13-8 favourite. Non-runner 6, 8 rounds.
So out into the spotlight comes User Friendly, who all week has been subject of so much debate as to whether she would actually ever walk into this Doncaster paddock more the St Ledger. 6 hours of watering overnight. Not necessarily please the connections of those who have firm ground horses, but the ground here is good to firm. The times haven't been that quick. Last race was 2 seconds outside the standard. They ran the full minute for the 5 furlongs. She will appreciate all the overnight watering, because the way she ran in fast ground at York, she certainly seemed to be toiling a bit. But don't forget, this filly has yet to be beaten in her ability so far. Jockey's coming through. Michael Roberts walking out there. Shu Halem thinks he has a tremendous chance. A horse who has yet to go into a mile and 3/4, but it's got a lot of toe. Steve Corson walking out with Sonus, who works lazily but not badly at home, and the connections have told me this morning they're quite optimistic. John Reed with the Assessor. Rain Rider's jockey Willie Carson, those checks going through. And as they go out, you look at the crowd, a huge punting race as well. John McCurrick.
The Bradford bookmaker George Horn is going 6-4 against User Friendly, 11-4 Bonnie Scott. He's just laid 3 monkeys, £500 at 3-1 Bonnie Scott, 9-2 against Rain Rider, and 8-1 against Sonus. Now the key St Ledger trial has very often been York's Great Voltigeur, first run in 1950. And the first 3 on the names my run is today for the 8th time that that's happened, the first 3 at York running in the St Ledger. And the nearest they came to reproducing that form was 30 years ago, 1962, when Heverset beat Moralgo and Monterico up at York in the Voltigeur. And of course Heverset, who had been favourite for the Derby in Larkspur's year when falling, was still the outsider of the 3 here. They put 100-8 against Heverset when they met again in the race here that mattered.
Still Cavo on the rails, joined now by Moralgo and Silver Cloud. Pintaric, Heverset on the outside, Monterico and Sebring. Antolan is dropped right out of it now. 2.5 furlongs to go, and it's Cavo has dropped out. It's Moralgo on the rails, passed now by Silver Cloud. Heverset going very easily with 1.5 furlongs to go, and showing just in front of Silver Cloud and Moralgo over on the far side. Sebring and March Wynn trying to challenge. Monterico's well now, inside the last furlong now, and it's Heverset coming right away from Monterico, Moralgo, March Wynn and Sebring and Larkspur. With 50 yards to go, it's Heverset well clear of Monterico, Moralgo and March Wynn coming up to the line now. It's Heverset the winner.
Heverset, the first of 6 winners for trainer Dick Hearn, and all 3, first 3 home in the Voltigeur Stakes are running here again. And indeed, Dick Hearn's horse, Mack the Knife, is ridden by Lester Pickett, who, of course, has won this 8 times. A race full of interest and full of history, and with a massive prize, 160,000. It'll be hard fought. I can tell you, a long, pitiless straight here at Doncaster. 7 runners listed now.
So, Allegan does not take part, but number 2 is Assessor, ridden by John Reed. 3, Bonnie Scott, Frankie Dettori. 4, Mack the Knife, Lester Pickett. Number 5, Rain Rider, Willie Carson. 6, Shuhalan, Michael Roberts. 7, Sonus, Steve Cawthon. And completing the lineup, number 8, User Friendly, George Duffield.
And here's SABRE, user-friendly, is the 6-4 favourite from 5-4. Bonnie Scott steady on 11-4, and Rain Rider is 9-2 from 4-1. Sona steady at 8, Assessor a 14-1 chance along with Mack the Knife, and Chehalan the outsider, 16-1, drifting out from 12s. All quoted for the St. Ledger.
There she is. We're so glad to see her. A wonderfully brave decision by Bill Gredley and Clive Britton. The Arc de Triomphe they might have considered as their real target, but they haven't. They've come here and risked the slightly too firm ground. It's firmer than user-friendly would like for sure. As we saw at York, she doesn't like it when it's firm, but she looks magnificent.
Oh, she looks in tip-top shape. You could actually shave in her coat. She's got such a gleam to it. And she looks absolutely fantastic. Really lovely temperament, this filly. Has done nothing but improve all through the season.
Let's have a look at Bonnie Scott now, who is certainly one of the dangers, although it's impossible to name a horse that hasn't got a chance in this Ledger. Bonnie Scott has won the 2 traditional trials, the Mark Stakes at Goodwood and the Great Voltigeur. But the question is, when he beat Sonus and Assessor in the Great Voltigeur, did he do it for speed? Because his stamina has not been tested against that class of horse. It's possible, we'll see the Great Voltigeur later on, it's possible that it was superior speed which enabled Bonnie Scott to beat Sonus. Just possibly the Doncaster Straight might be a different matter.
Well, I think he'll stay the trip. He looks absolutely fantastic, Bonnie Scott. Really good colour. Nice bay with black points. Let's have a look at Rain Rider, though, the horse that beat him at Newmarket. Much different individual altogether, much taller, much leaner. Looks more like a 1 and a 6 horse, that's for certain. And I don't think you'd ever get to the bottom of him, John.
No, Bonnie Scott was giving £5 when Rain Rider beat him, and there was a loose horse in that race, as a matter of fact. Bonnie Scott was said to have hit the front too soon and to have then idled, but as Willie Carson says, in fact there was a loose horse in front of it, and he didn't know, didn't have any jockey on it. He's not that clever, Willie says, so he didn't regard that as an excuse.
So there's Assessor, John Reed in the black colours with a yellow cap. John's had 77 winners this season, and of course Richard Hannon on the 999 winner mark. Assessor, disappointed in the Derby. I wonder if he'll come back to his best here. Bonnie Scott, Frankie Dettori, 74 winners this season, won the French Derby this year. Has Frankie Dettori, Bonnie Scott to give him his first classic winner. And then number 4, Mack the Knife, Lester Piggott looking for his 9th St. Ledger. And this horse does look very well indeed. Number 5, Rain Rider, Willie Carson in those diamond colours will be Willie's 4th St. Ledger. Michael Roberts looking for his 2nd English Classic on Shuhaydon in yellow. Sonus, Steve Cawthon looking for his 4th St. Ledger in the Sheikh Mohammed colours. And then last of those to lead the parade ring, that's the favourite, number 8, the unbeaten slip anchor filly, user-friendly, George Duffield on board. 89 winners so far this season, George.
What's very important for at any rate admirers of Mack the Knife is how he behaves, because in some of his races, notably at Windsor the other day, he boiled over badly and played up really seriously on the way to the start. So far, touch wood, he seems to be behaving really well, and his lad, Lindsay Davis, who's there leading him along and knows him very well indeed, has won the prize for best turned out horse. So that's Mack the Knife is no easy horse to handle, and well done, Lindsay. And that's Dick Hearn's assistant on the other side. He's pretty large too, so they will be able to help Leicester if by any chance Mack the Knife does misbehave. But let's have a look at Assessor, who leads that parade. Winner of the Lingfield Derby trial, a failure in the Epsom Derby, where almost certainly the Epsom course, upset him. But since then, he's run a really good race in the Great Voltigeur, third to Bonnie Scott and Sonus, and Richard Hannon, his trainer, is certain that every yard of this extra distance will be an advantage.
I spoke to the owners just now, and the owners are convinced the horse has improved 25 lengths since York, when if he's only improved half of that distance, he's certainly going to have a good chance. Nice picture of the horses on their way down to the post. Mack the Knife. He's coming through, Rain Rider, and the last two or three to turn round. Shuhaylin will be first to come, followed by Sonus, who looks magnificent, and the only filly in the race, user friendly.
Rain Rider, of course, has beaten Bonnie Scott. He'd also beaten Allegan, so that Willie Carson is full of hope that Rain Rider may be good enough. There she goes, going down really keenly and well. I don't think she seems ill at ease on the ground, John.
No, not at all. She looks really happy with herself. No ill effects. Little stumble there. I was just a little... I think she stumbled because she's got her mind on anything else but what's going on, having a real good look around. Really wonderful filly, this. Sonus really done well throughout this season and only had the 3 runs. Got a real sort of crest appearing on his neck. A real powerful colt. And he trailed home, well, he didn't trail home, he followed home rather in the Voltigeur, Bonnie Scott. Prior to that, he'd been 4th at Ascot behind Baton. That was a good run. But he's a horse who's improving, John.
Yes, I think Sonus is certainly improving, and it's conceivable that this distance will improve him even more. But let's see one Shuhaylin, who hasn't attempted this distance at all, and just might be the one horse in this field with a real, the one colt in this field with a real turn of foot. I know that Michael Roberts believes that his chance isn't at all represented by odds like 33 to 1. He believes that Shuhaylin will get the trip, which he's never done yet, and will have a turn of foot which the others may find hard to match. So if you want a long shot, a long price bet, Shuhaylin is definitely the one to be on. Let's have a look at the betting.
Here's a friendly, the 7 to 4 favourite now, Bonnie Scott, 5 to 2. Rain Rider is 9 to 2, and Sonus steady at 8. Assessor a 14 to 1 chance, along with Mack the Knife, and Shuhaylin 16 to 1, all quoted.
There's Bonnie Scott, and now let's have a look at perhaps the most traditional St. Leger trial, the Great Voltigeur Stakes at York. John, Assessor on this side of Bonnie Scott, and Sonus in Sheikh Mohammed's colours. The 3 of them dead level there. Now the question is, does Bonnie Scott just beat them for speed?
Well, he does beat them for speed, John, but he also keeps galloping as well. You can't say that he's stopped. I think both the first 2 have kept galloping to the line, and I should imagine this horse just doing enough to stay in front of Bonnie Scott. The Tessa's run on really well. That was his first run for some time, but you wouldn't say that that horse definitely didn't get the trip from running there.
No, you certainly wouldn't, and the Great Voltigeur, as a matter of fact, often been a very deceptive and misleading guide. But let's have not a misleading guide at all, Jay McCurrick.
And there's been good support for the Bonnie Scott, the Voltigeur winner, from 3 to 1. They're now showing 5 to 2, second favourite against Bonnie Scott. 33 favourites have won the Leger this century, 6 in the last 9 years. And since the war, 8 Oaks winners have run in the Leger, 4 have won and 4 have lost. User friendly is now 7 to 4. The judges, listen to the morning line, took the early morning price of 11 to 4 down, although they got 10p in the pound to pay deduction because of Allegan. The judges are on the big price here on the course at 7 to 4 chance. 5 to 2 then against the Bonnie Scott, 9 to 2 Rain Rider, and money for Sonus. From 10 to 1 into 7 to 1 now, Sonus, despite the very bad stories regarding his work at Newmarket. 14 to 1 bar, that's figure to Mack the Knife, and also 14 to 1 against Assessor, with 16 to 1 Shuhaylin, but a major gamble on the classic steamer, user-friendly, but they're backing Bonnie Scott against her.
Get on,
Leicester briefly got off Mack the Knife, but he's got on now. Leicester 8 St. Leger winners to his credit, needs one more to beat Will Scott's record. Derek Thompson asked him what chance he thought he had of doing so.
Well, I must have a chance, you know. I think it's a very open race. There's only 7 of us now, and, you know, we've all got to be frightened of the filly.
User-friendly, she's obviously good.
Yeah, I mean, she's never been beaten, and, you know, she is good, yeah. But, the mile and 6 furlongs here, you know, and she's never been that far anyway. And you never can tell in this race, you know.
What about Major Hearn? He's won it 6 times. Between you, you've won it 14, so the experience is on your side.
Yes, and he's quietly confident, you know. So we're hoping for the best.
What do you know about Mack the Knife, by the way?
Well, not much really. I've only seen him run in most of these races, but I've never been on his back, you know.
You've never even ridden him at work at home?
No.
Well, what Leicester doesn't know about Mack the Knife, of course he knows his form. He was a really good third in the Racing Post Trophy last year as a 2-year-old. He was third in the Chester Vase, and recently won a race at Windsor, having, like all Dick Hearn's horses, been off the course the whole season. But there she is. There's the favourite, unbeaten, winner of 2 Oaks, and 3 Oaks if you count the Yorkshire Oaks, and who knows, she may add yet another classic. There you are, Graham.
One thing's for certain, probably the gamest horse in the race, and they break away for the Coalites and Leger, and it's Mack the Knife going on. Mack the Knife and Leicester dictating turns. Sonus is showing through in 2nd place, and on the outside is User-Friendly. The pace not that strong, but Leicester making it quite a good test, I presume, on Mack the Knife, from Sonus showing 2nd. Showing 3rd is User-Friendly, and Shuhalan, one of the speed horses, is out the back. Rain Rider, black and white colours on the outside of the pack. The black colours with the yellow cap, that's Assessor, and the pale blue jacket racing mid-division is Bonnie Scott. They race away from the stands, and it's Mack the Knife leading, clear by about 2 lengths. The Sonus showing in 2nd place and User-Friendly 3rd. Bonnie Scott is tracking User-Friendly, Rain Rider on the outside, a gap of 2 lengths then to Assessor, and the back marker is Shuhalan. Leicester, if anything, has steadied the pace as they go up and over Rose Hill on the farthest point from the stands. It's Mack the Knife leading, only by a half now to Sonus on the outside showing 2nd. User-Friendly in 3rd, 2 lengths back then to Rain Rider, with on the inside Bonnie Scott, followed through by Assessor and Shuhalan on the back marker. They continue their journey down to about a mile from home, and Mack the Knife leading, from Sonus showing in 2nd, and then User-Friendly 3rd. Bonnie Scott the rail 4, Rain Rider out wide 5, and the principal players, User-Friendly, Rain Rider and Bonnie Scott, mid-division at this stage. Assessor is on the outside of Shuhalan. But it's still Leicester in the lead, as they've got just over 3/4 of a mile to go, and it's Mack the Knife leading by length, to Sonus showing in 2nd, User-Friendly in 3rd, and Bonnie Scott is 4th, Rain Rider the outside, then Assessor and Shuhalan. So they start the turn into the home straight, still over 5 to race, and Mack the Knife leading from Sonus in 2nd, and User-Friendly travelling well 3rd. The striped sleeves, pale colours the rail is Bonnie Scott, diamond colours a black and white Rain Rider. Assessor is getting closer, and Shuhalan, as they turn for home with half a mile to go, is still last. They're heading for home now, and it's Leicester on Mack the Knife from Sonus the outside. The filly User-Friendly, George Duffield in the yellow, Rain Rider, Bonnie Scott, Assessor, and Shuhalan. They leave the 4 behind them, and it's Leicester on Mack the Knife, the rail, just quickening up again from Sonus. Here comes User-Friendly, the striped sleeves on the outside, followed through by Bonnie Scott, who's suddenly flat to the board. Shuhalan is going to find his stamina sapped now, and it's Sonus it goes on, but the favourite on the outside, User-Friendly, coming there strongly. Mack the Knife rallies the rail, and then behind these Bonnie Scott, Shuhalan down the centre of the track. They've got 1.5 to go, and the filly User-Friendly goes for home. It's George Duffield on User-Friendly, going too clear of Sonus. Mack the Knife weekend. Bonnie Scott and Shuhalan place the fifth. The unbeaten filly User-Friendly is striding 4 clear in the St. Leger as they race up towards the line. User-Friendly is going to take it. User-Friendly is the winner. Sonus is 2nd. Bonnie Scott is 3rd. Shuhalan 4th. Then Mack the Knife followed her by Assessor, and last of all was Rain Rider. What a brilliant filly this is. number 8, User-Friendly, in the colours of Bill Gredley. Bred at the Stetchworth Park Stud, the 7-4 favourite, ridden by George Duffield, his 90th winner of the season and his second classic success. Good horses make good jockeys. Good horses make good jockeys. Good jockeys make good horses great. That's User-Friendly, unbeaten, and obviously acknowledging the applause. Second horse home is Sonus. Steve Cawthon gave that one a tremendous ride. Third horse home is number 3, Bonnie Scott, Frankie Dettori, of those who went each way, Sue Halen, 4th. But George Duffield has won on User-Friendly, and really, she's won it probably easier than she's won any of her classics, improving. But the Arc is going to be a race. And here she comes home under George Duffield, and it's a long final furlong many times, but John Oakley, John Frankham, not on this occasion.
Absolutely no doubt about her stamina, and even less doubt about her speed. You can say she's slaughtered them, really. She's won this really easily.
Oh, she's improving, there's no doubt about that. She's quite extraordinary to watch. It never looks as though she's really enjoying herself. I'm sure she'd far rather be looking up in the crowds or doing something, but she gets on with it, and boy, does she gallop.
A wonderfully popular result. Both her owner, Bill Gredley, and her trainer, Clive Britton, are always cooperative with the press. They do their level best to help the public. Bill Gredley is a man who does wonders for various charities and for the old people of the area around Newmarket. A man who makes the best possible use of his money, and I'm very glad to say he's got some of it back here.
Also incredibly popular for George Duffield, well on his way to his century of winners. And there's no doubt that she's improving. Given a cut in the ground, she's sure. I'm just looking at her enjoying herself there in the winner's enclosure. And
there's the result. User-Friendly was 7-4 favourite. Sonus was 15-2, and Bonnie Scott was 5-2. So, well, it wasn't quite as good as the 11-4 on offer this morning, but 7-4 was a pretty good bet. It looks good now anyway.
I've got Wendy Meek here with me. Congratulations, Wendy. What a wonderful day.
Brilliant.
And here's Bill Gredley and young Tim. Congratulations, Bill. What a wonderful day.
This is a filly.
Someday.
Yeah.
Well done for you too.
This is the real owner. This is the real owner. Come to me.
What a George. Wendy, tell us about it during the week. How worried were you about the ground?
Not at all.
Weren't you?
No.
And how good is she at home, Wendy? Sometimes we're not
She doesn't give you much to feel up the counter, but she works very well all the while. Everything's easier.
Yes, in the race she doesn't look to be doing very much early on, and then when she turns it on...
She's very fast and laid back, you know. But she gets there.
Do you have a nickname for her?
No, not really.
Have you been with her from the start?
Yes, she went up to Mr. Gredley back in November last year.
Look, you're rather hairy ears, isn't she? Look, they're really long. I never noticed them before. Look.
Yeah, everybody says that.
Well.
Give her a kiss.
Oh, pity. Hi, Bill. Throughout this week, you had this terrific dilemma. You spent a very considerable sum, 15,000 for the supplement, 25. And how close were you? Did you always think you'd run in the end, or was it really?
Well, I knew that John Thompson would provide a good to firm surface, because that's what he said at the beginning when I supplemented, and I just knew he would do it. I understand his dilemma, but at the end I think that, you know, he got it right, and of course I would say that. And we came here with the filly, and I just think that, you know, she justified us putting her in.
And Clive said all week that, of course, the Arc of Triumph is, in a sense, your biggest aim of all. You've always said that too.
Well, but as we've said with every race, one at a time. I'll go back. I think I'll have a chat with her on Wednesday or Thursday, And if she says, well, that race is okay and I feel good, then we'll go for the Arc. But if on Wednesday or Thursday, you know, she says I've had enough for the season, I don't think we will run it. But I suspect, knowing her from the past record, that she will be kicking on bouncing by about Thursday, and I think that we'll more than likely running the Arc.
But it is an extraordinary story, but being realistic, when she was the foal running around, how decent did you think she was going to be then, as a yearling?
Well, I know I've repeated the story, but when I pulled her out, and I did actually pull this filly out with the stud groom, I said, well, that's my Oaks filly. And I know that most people say that, but she was bred, or whatever it was, colt or filly, it was going to be an Oaks because they were bred like that. And she started to show us, as a two-year-old, middle two-year-old, that she had some ability, and obviously the type that needed time. And we sent her into Clive, educated her, and then we just took her back up to Dullingham. That's where we trained with Nigel Wright and all the rest of the boys. They did a great job. And we decided to keep her there over the winter and hacked her up the hill and got her strong. We sent her into Clive in April of this year. No, sorry, in March of this year. Clive sorted one or two problems out, you know, with her teeth, and she began to blossom, and we did a bit of work with her first time with Gussie Marlowe, and I went away and backed her 33 to 1. So that's when I knew.
And what about for the St Leger today? Because after all, she was
I must interrupt.
You're interrupting.
This man walking the course today told me the bet of all time, didn't you? And I told the viewers on Channel 4, Bill said the bet of all time. My goodness, you were right, weren't you?
Well,
terrific man. Thanks a lot.
The question is, though, did he have the bet of all time today?
No, I didn't have a bet on her, because I think that she owed me nothing, and I wouldn't want to sort of cloud my judgment, should she run or not.
But you did say you're going to buy drinks for the groundsmen, didn't you? All the work they've done, watering the course.
They've done. I said I win. There's a very good drink for all the groundsmen, and I think that they did a good job. I mean, I would say that, wouldn't I? We won, but yes, they did a good job.
We must release you. In
Great for Britain. Well done, Bill. Great for Britain.
Billy's allowed to go now. Thank you, Bill, very
much. Thanks. Bye.
First number 8, Use the Friendly, the 7-4 favourite. Second number 7, Sonus at 15 to 2. And third number 3, Bonnie Scott, 5 to 2. The tote paid £2.60 for the win. The place is £1.80 and £3.10. The dual forecast came to £8.40. A non-runner was number 1 and 7 ran.
George, congratulations.
Thank you, Bill.
In the end, you made it look easy, but you've had an uneasy week, I imagine.
Yes, I mean, you know, with the weather and that and the ground, and had a fall in the Park Hill. Luckily, I didn't pick myself up with that, but it was just a simple fall. And it was just the weather, really, I was worried about. You know, and I was pleased that it just did water, it just took the sting out of it. Didn't spoil the ground, it just made it more raceable for something like, you know, probably not enough for Henry's, but yeah, it suited me.
There's a crucial moment when you turn to canter down to the start, when that's when you really begin to know, is this horse feeling all right? What does she feel like? She doesn't ever throw a toe much. What does she feel like?
She's so laid back, she's unbelievable. I mean, you wouldn't think you had a hard race in Ireland and a hard race at York. I mean, he just strolled down there, as though tomorrow would do. She's great temperament.
And then in the race, you sort of parked herself about
I was always travelling too easy. You know, they weren't quite going quick enough for me. She kept jumping through into a bridle. I kept, ooh, steady, it's not a go. You know, every sort of 10 strikes you think it was a go. She could take a bridle and, ooh, come here.
And when you pulled out 2 furlongs to go?
Well, I went to join Lester and Steve, you know. I'm thinking to myself, well, where are the rest? You know, what's supposed to be the big guns, but once you picked up, it was all over.
You've gone past that furlong, Poland.
Yeah.
You're a Yorkshireman, and there's a Yorkshire St Leger ahead.
That's right. Yeah. Great feeling. Yeah.
She holds her head up. Started holding her head up.
She carries it like that all the time, but it doesn't. They don't come any braver than her. I'm just so lucky to be associated with such a good filly.
You've been around, we'd love to say, it's a bit of a time now, and St Leger hasn't been really on your agenda much. Was it one ride?
One ride, and that was a pacemaker.
How long ago was that?
12 years ago, maybe longer.
And she has never been beaten. Do you think she's going to be beaten in the Arc?
I suppose one day she probably will get beaten, unless they're retired sort of tomorrow or something, but she's a tough old nut to crack. You know, anyone that takes her on, they're going to know they've had a race. If they beat her, they're going to have to put out all the stops to beat her.
And to repeat that, it's been a long time, but there have been good moments and bad moments.
Yeah.
How good is this one?
Marvellous. Marvellous.
Is it the best?
It's the icing on the cake. If I rode 100 winners now, I'd be over the moon.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
When when Steve Corton won the Derby on Slip Anchor, he'd also ridden Rostova for Bill Gredley, and having dinner one night, Steve said, you ought to mate those two, and they'll produce you a winner of a classic at Epsom. I think he probably said the Derby winner, but what they did produce was the winner of a classic at Epsom. The 1985 Derby winner, Slip Anchor, and probably the best horse he's produced up till now was Third Watch, but this is the best one now, and Rostova by Blakeney was a staying filly herself, a winner at Epsom, which is what inspired the mating.
That one, it happens occasionally, Bill, but you're absolutely right. The